The Fast and the Furious in Canada. Alright, sure. Rev stars Francisco Feliz as Mikey, a young 20-something who by day works as a clerk at a computer repair store and by night steals cars. With his computer know-how, he developed a program that will assist him in easily stealing high-end cars. One day, Mikey gets picked up by the cops for stealing a Shelby Cobra that just so happens to belong to one of the arresting officers. And the cops of course tell him that he is either going to go to jail or work with them to bring down an international car theft ring. So Mikey goes undercover with said car theft ring in order to win his freedom. This movie has been billed and marketed as the Canadian Fast and the Furious. Even in the trailer, the way it's cut together, what they lead you to believe the story is, everything about it screams Fast and the Furious. Hell, the font throughout the trailer is the Fast and the Furious font. They're really pushing this thing as Canada's version of the Fast and the Furious. So it's understandable that going into it, you are expecting something along those lines. Now, we've gotten a lot of Fast and the Furious ripoffs since that series began, and the vast majority, if not really all of them, have pretty much sucked. So understandably, I was kind of expecting this one to pretty much follow suit with everything that came before it. I mean, this is Canada's Fast and the Furious, so I was expecting a little bit less, I live my life a quarter mile at a time, and probably a bit more, I live my life a quarter kilometer at a time, eh? But really, that's not what I got at all. Besides the fact that this movie has cars in it, and the plot does center around cars, there is nothing that this movie has in common with The Fast and the Furious. This is much more an undercover cop crime caper, which I know that there was an undercover agent in Fast and the Furious, but I don't feel as if that's one of Fast and the Furious's defining traits. This movie's not even really about the cars. I mean, it is about them stealing the cars, but it's not about the cars. The main character does have a passion for the cars, and he does talk about them a lot, but the plot is not really about cars. This is not really a car movie. It's about this guy who's forced to infiltrate this car theft ring, and then he has to give information to the cops concerning the people in this ring in order to bring it down. And much like many other undercover movies, there's the conflict he has because of the relationships he forges with some of these people that he's undercover with. Or undercover I don't know. The people that he meets while he's undercover. There are of course the tense moments where we think his cover's about to be blown and he just barely makes it by. And the obligatory romance that he forms with one of the people that he's informing on. All those tropes that you expect in these types of undercover movies, they're all here. What's not here that I was expecting, there's not any big car chases. In fact, there's no car chases at all in this movie, which I did find kind of surprising in a movie called Rev. And that surprise was kind of bittersweet, because I did like the fact that I was expecting that to happen in this movie, and it never did. So I liked how they subverted my expectations there. The movie does set up a situation in the end that you figure is going to be that big set piece, that big payoff that you're waiting for. But unfortunately, we never really get that. The ending of the movie happens pretty sudden with fairly little fanfare. There's like this big build-up leading up to it. You think it's going to be this big, huge thing, but before they can even get to that, this other thing happens and the movie just kind of ends. It's not that I really hated the way that it ended, it just had built up this other thing that you were actually kind of looking forward to, and you never got that. So that aspect of it was a bit of a letdown. That and the fact that the very end of the movie did kind of go into cliche territory. All that aside though, I do have to say that this movie actually was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. I was expecting some cheesy ass Fast and the Furious wannabe, and that's just not what I got. The story we got was actually pretty entertaining. It, like much of the movie, did subvert my expectations. I wasn't really expecting there to be much quality here, but there is. It's not the greatest story ever told or anything. I mean, this isn't going to win any awards or be on anybody's top 10 list, but it was an entertaining ride and I had a really good time with it. Something else that surprised me even more than the story in this movie was its performances. Surprisingly enough, all the performances here are pretty solid. Nobody ever takes it too far and gets real hammy and out there. In fact, since I know that this movie is going to be compared to The Fast and the Furious quite a bit, honestly, some of the performances in this movie are better than the ones in The Fast and the Furious. Now, neither Shakespeare or anything, but I wasn't expecting this level of performance in this movie. And it's always kind of a nice treat when you get more than what you're expecting. And I will say that overall, that is what this movie provided. More than I was expecting. I do want want to touch on the marketing for a minute though. I don't usually take the marketing into consideration when I am talking about a movie. But in the case of this movie, they have marketed it so hard as something that it's just not, that I can't help but at least mention it. And I do wonder if that does have something to do with why my expectations were exceeded. Because of the marketing and how hard they pushed this as the Canadian Fast and the Furious, I was expecting a dumb Fast and the Furious clone. But instead, what I got was a fairly smart undercover crime drama. And I know that's not the movie's fault. Typically, the people that do the marketing of a film don't have anything to do with the rest of the filmmaking process. So I don't want to take that out on this film and the people that put their hard work into it. But holy shit, man, they really mismarketed this movie. If you watch the trailer, you think you were getting a totally different movie. I mean, it is just an outright lie what they say you're gonna get compared to what you do get. Thankfully though, what we did get was a fun enough solid film. Is it gonna be your favorite movie of 2020? No, it's not. But is it gonna be a good time for the night? Absolutely. So if you like looking at really nice, expensive, exotic cars, not seeing them in car chases or anything, because there's none of that, and you like a pretty good story with some solid performances, Rev is absolutely worth checking out on streaming.
Across the street.
If you're just looking for some solid entertainment for the night, check this one out. I don't think you'll be disappointed. Unless you watch the trailer and that's what you're expecting, then you'll be disappointed. So there it is, guys, my review of Rev. If you enjoyed and want more content like this, hit that subscribe button and help my little channel grow. If you liked what I had to say, give me a like. If not, let me know in the comments below why. And as always, stay sexy, Ontario.
I got one message for society. If you don't want to encourage crime, stop making movies about it.
There's a lot of really nice cars in this movie, but like I said, there's no car chases. The vast majority of the time that you see these cars, they're just parked somewhere looking real pretty, which makes it even more odd that they marketed this as Canadian Fast and the Furious. I mean, seeing as how they never really do anything in the movie, I'd say it's more like the parked and the mildly displeased. Well, I mean, that doesn't sound very entertaining, so I guess I do kind of get that Fast and the Furious thing now.